Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. It's Thursday, March 6th. I'm Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield. We got a great one for you today. Ezra Robinson will be joining us, coming off his first ever Pro Tour win. And we got some more stuff, too. Another interview, talking a little fitness and the importance of fitness, and a trainer, Cole Hergott, who is focusing on training disc golfers at the university he works in Canada. So that's going to be a really good one. Feels like it fits well with Ezra and Josh. What's happening, man?
Oh, nothing much. Charlie, I've got an announcement to make though here. I am making a commitment that I am not going to talk poorly about the Texas swing this year. I think Maverick fans have been through enough.
That's an overreaction.
I think Maverick fans have been through enough, man. And I just can't pick on Texas anymore. It doesn't feel right. Kyrie goes down with an ACL tear.
That's brutal, man.
I'm going to give him a pass this year. Nothing. I might talk about individual tournaments, but the Texas swing, have your moment, everybody.
You know, it's pretty sick of you to come in here with your little jokes when you're a Laker fan.
So funny.
Oh, poor Mavericks. We have Luka now.
Yeah. Lakers are second in the West now, baby. Let's go.
Dude, I'm telling you, the West, all of a sudden, the West is extremely interesting and exciting. I mean, the Warriors just came into the MSG and beat the Knicks pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. The Knicks we did a lot of stuff, and I think we're still going to lose in the second round this year.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. Lots to get to. Notably, coming up this weekend, we have the Go Throw Tour getting started. So, let's pump the brakes on calling this a tour. Let's pump the brakes on everything about this whole thing. But we are seeing a coordinated effort to draw top pros to off-weekend tournaments. This is essentially filling in for what the Silver Series used to do. I mean, the field is pretty good at this weekend's Go Throw Cancer Playbook Open 2. We do not believe it is sanctioned by the PDGA, so if you go to the PDGA.com, you're not going to see it. If you go to players' pages, you're not going to see it. This is not. It's not going to be rated because it's not PDGA sanctioned. So it's kind of like, I feel like this is like a throwback to 35, 40 years ago when people were just throwing a frizz. But now we get modern media around it.
Kind of.
Well, I mean, sure. Okay. Say your piece.
Yeah. Let's. So here, I think that one of the most common ways that people engage with disc golf these days, and professional disc golf, is to keep track of scores while they are happening.
Yep.
Without PDGA sanctioning, they're obviously not going to be using the PDGA Live app, or at least as far as I know. I don't think you can. I don't know if it's going to be live on UDisc. I haven't seen any. I would expect kind of an announcement.
If I was UDisc, I would encourage them to do it there, right?
Oh, heck yeah. And just to create a platform for it real quick. Doesn't have to be nearly as detailed or as much as the Pro Tour, but just scores. I don't even want stats. I just want scores. That's it. And so we'll see. But I think it's going to be, except for the post pro coverage, kind of difficult to engage with. And
Alert.
that to me,
Alert. I did some sleuthing while you were talking.
Okay.
The Go Throw Cancer Playbook Open 2 is an event listed on udisc.com.
Let's go.
And if you go to the scores tab, it says come back soon to follow live scores.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right. Go Throw Tour back up.
Back up.
We are hype.
I will.
Dude, it's going to be sick. If we get to enjoy UDisc scoring with stats.
I doubt their stats. Let's take a deep breath.
Let's pump the brakes again on the Go Throw Tour.
Pump the brakes. Let me offer you one more brake pump. I couldn't find this tournament on Disc Golf Scene at first because the home screen of Go Throw calls it the Hideaway Disc Golf Invitational, and then you go to the schedule and it's the Cancer Playbook 2 Invitational.
That's right.
And so anyway, it is the Cancer Playbook 2 on
at the Hideaway Disc Golf Course.
Not at the Hideaway Disc Golf Course, but you find the Cancer Playbook on Disc Golf Scene if you're looking for registration details.
Look, this is going to be an interesting first weekend, and we'll see how it goes.
Sure.
The Hideaway looks really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's 4.8 on UDisc. Got some water carries, like nice woods. It is, according to the UDisc page, the #1 ranked course in Texas. And this is the thing that I really like about what the Go Throw Tour is doing. They are going to be featuring really cool courses that aren't on tour. And to me, that is a huge benefit because I want to watch the best course in Texas. I want to watch, I want to see the pros play Eagles Crossing for real in a tournament setting. And yeah, we won't have live coverage. That is what it is. But in some ways, this feels like I said, it's like a throwback because it's like a throwback to when we didn't have live coverage at most tournaments and you had to wait until next day rolled out on YouTube. I feel like it's kind of refreshing.
Fair. I think the only, if I could fix one thing, if I could make one change, I wish they were more than 2 rounds.
Yeah, that's fair.
I just don't know if 2 rounds these days with the level of competition we have are going to be enough. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if literally every single one of these events goes to a playoff.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's 7 events?
More likely than not that you're not going to get that same kind of separation, for sure.
7 events. Over under 3.5 go to playoffs.
Under.
Oh, I take the over. Without even hesitation. I mean, think of how many 3-round tournaments where after round 2 there are ties.
It's true.
Tons and tons.
It's different when you're thinking about it only being a 2-round tournament,
I mean, I hear you. But
okay, take a look at the map. Here's the Go Throw Tour. This is from their website. It's not updated with the proper name for this tournament. So it's called the Hideaway Disc Golf Invitational. But then we got Persimmon Ridge in a couple weeks, Eagles Crossing in early April, Kayak Point Showdown up in the west in Seattle area, basically. The Majestic, Failure Lake in September, and then Highland Brewing Players and Fans Invitational in Asheville in October before USDGC. I think it's going to be kind of fun. They have a whole scoring rubric too. So if you show up, you get points, and the more events you play, you get points. You can earn points by posting on social media and tagging #GoThrow. And then, of course, the bulk of the points are earned by how you do in the tournament. And then there's a hot round bonus. You get 25 points for having the hot round.
Cool.
For reference, you get 1,000 points for first place at a tournament. So 25
is not.
Yeah, I mean, it's something, but it's not much. You get 100 points for an ace. You get 250 for your second ace. You get 500 for your third ace. I guess after that, maybe you just keep getting 500. It's not explained. And then you get 25 points for every eagle that you shoot. So
what a nightmare to keep track of.
We'll see. It's all going to be a wild experiment, and I'm sure it's going to be a little sloppy at times, but it'll also probably be pretty fun. And like enough good players are going that it's going to feel like a real tournament.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, and listen, they've announced and talked a little bit about money. Obviously, without the PDGA page, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. We'll see if they make an announcement and a post on it. But listen, you build it and they will come. Bring payouts. $7,500 added cash to the pro division. So yeah, gonna be. There's definitely some good players. That's for sure.
I wonder. Okay, we didn't talk about this because I don't think it had come out on Tuesday. Will Gannon actually play this weekend? You see his Instagram post?
No, I didn't.
He said, I can't really turn my head right now, or excuse me, I can't really turn my head to the right without pain at the base of my neck. Someone help. I've had this problem for only a few months, but it's only gotten worse even after doing exercises I was given.
Oh.
Are you concerned?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you should be. I mean, I don't think that's a long-term thing.
Doesn't seem like it.
I don't know exactly, obviously depends on what's causing it, but neck stiffness, right? Go get that thing dry needled, go to a physical therapy clinic, not just exercises, but like get that worked out. And, if you use medication, like maybe someone will prescribe muscle relaxers and maybe that's all it'll take. I would expect like once it clears up, it probably like clears up for quite a while. And there's probably like something that triggers or like if it recauses it, but it doesn't seem super long-term chronic serious in nature. It just, he's got to get it resolved and then he should be good to go.
Tell me about dry needling.
Yeah.
Is that legit?
Okay, listen. I was skeptical. So
You're a PT guy, right? You worked in the industry.
I was in the industry for like 4 years. And I used it before I was in the industry. I was very skeptical. So I went to a physical therapy clinic when I was up in Montana. And I actually, for something similar to Gannon, I used to have that where like my neck would like lock up and it hurt to turn one direction.
Okay.
And I didn't know what to do. So finally I tried I got prescribed muscle relaxers, worked okay. But like I couldn't take a muscle relaxer every time it happened. Like I can't drive. I can't go to class. Right. So it's just laying there. Like, so I was like, okay, I don't want that to be my solution. So I was like, I'll go to a physical therapy clinic. Found one that was in network. 'Cause I had insurance from Idaho. So it was pretty limited in my choice. And I go to one that ends up being like a little bit like holistic medicine feeling, but still combined with like legitimate PT. Like they asked what essential oil I wanted when I got there. Okay.
You're like,
and like,
that's not doing anything.
That's not doing much. I was like, I'm not here for your essential oils, man. And he's like, I want to do dry needling. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is another load of garbage. No way. There's no way this is going to work. But I was like, whatever, I'll try anything. So they stick the needles in, and you can also do like electrotherapy as well. So you hook the electricity up to the needles to just get it directly into the muscles. When I say I have never felt better, that I've never had an improvement like that for that condition, I was an instant believer. And it got to the point I would be at work and I'd be like, oh man, like I'm feeling a little tight. I'd go downstairs, they'd stick a couple needles in me, I'd sit there for 10 minutes, they'd pull it out, I'd feel great.
That's wild.
It was pretty remarkable how well it worked.
All right, Gannon.
Give it a try. Like I was a skeptic as well. My family's in medicine. I've been around like medicine my entire life. I am very skeptical of things like this. It works. It really does work. So, Gannon, give it a try.
Very
get dry needled.
I've never had dry needling or acupuncture.
I don't know.
I'm open to it. I'm open to it.
Take something that's sore. Go give it a try.
Chiropractic?
Oh no,
I'm not sure about that.
No,
that seems like a one-way ticket to more problems.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I know some people swear by it.
It's temporary. It's dangerous. No, I would never. You couldn't pay me enough money to let a chiropractor touch me.
Wow.
Yeah.
But the needles.
The needles are good. I'll take the needles.
Who knows, man? All right. Let's get into this interview. We have anything else on Go Throw?
I don't think so. That's all I got.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
It's the website's a little janky and like, I don't know, they got you wanna kind of not that great looking Go Throw dad hat. $38 on their website. Who's buying that?
The hoodie is $85.
Who is buying that? That I guarantee you, these are mystery box central at the end of this year. You wait. You want it? Just wait.
Just wait.
$65 polo. I'm sorry. That ain't it. But I am excited to check out the coverage from GK Pro and see how this goes. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, Isaac Robinson.
Oh no!
That ain't it. Delete my account. Keep this in the program. I deserve the scorn. Okay, keep it in, Aiden. Ezra Robinson, winner of the Supreme Flight Open, joins us next right here on the Upshot. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. Shout out to Pound sponsored athlete Ella Hansen for winning the first Elite Series tournament of the season in a three-way playoff. Had to eagle 18 twice to take it down, and she got the job done. Check out Ella's bags options over at pounddiscgolf.com. And also, if you're there and you want a smaller bag, check out the new stock colorway of Vagabond in clay and navy. Beautiful bag. I have a kind of like a previous version of the Vagabond that doesn't have the shoulder strap and such in this clay color. Fabulous. I keep it in the trunk if I'm going on a short trip and don't want to bring the whole bag. And nice to have just like a small bag for times when you're a little bit more space limited. Go to pounddiscgolf.com to check out all of the options. Joining us now on the Upshot is Ezra Robinson, the winner of the Supreme Flight Open to kick off the 2025 Disc Golf Pro Tour season. Ezra, congratulations and welcome to the program.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, us too. I actually feel bad because we were planning to have you on in the off season because we want to talk to you about the Discraft change and everything, and then I don't know what happened. We took a week off and forgot, and then we're glad to have you now. I always talk to first-time winners about what a whirlwind it can be. And I feel like in some ways that's probably doubly so for you because of all the changes this off-season.
Yeah.
Is this pretty much exactly as great as it could possibly go, right? You switch sponsors and then immediately win and shoot, an amazing final round. How is this the vision that you had in your mind for how the season would start?
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, the best case scenario I could ever imagine. Having the lead card all be Discraft, having Paul and Ricky for one on the card, AB the past winner, perfect card, perfect weather, perfect Discraft tournament, having my brother there for the last couple holes and giving me that big hug at the end. It's like a dream come true. Yeah, it couldn't get any better.
Last season you came so close to winning, a handful of times, had an incredible season, and you had to, I know that getting a win had to be a goal this season. Was this the tournament that you thought it was going to happen at?
No, I didn't. I think last year I got 16th at the tournament out of this course. And so I think I only shot 7 down total. So no, not at all. I was not expecting it at all.
Which event would you have predicted that, or I guess, still think, which one do you think, if you had to call your shot, what's the other, if you had to win one other event this season, which one do you think you're winning?
Yeah, I love Waco, actually. Waco, now that we're just playing Waco, I think I shot, if it was just at Waco last year, I would have been in contention for the rounds that I was shooting out there. And then I love Green Mountain Championship, Vermont, and Smuggler's Notch. Those courses I love. So you want one of those or Ledgestone. I played well at Ledgestone. So
back to back would be so sick.
So yeah, look, you go out and you shoot your best tournament rating of all time. You chase down AB, defending champ. We saw the glimpses last year of the really, really high level of play that you could bring. And, you had a lot of top 10 finishes. You had a lot of second place finishes. So you came super close. What do you think was the difference this weekend that let you go across the finish line and get the win?
Yeah, I think the way I mentally kind of prepared a little bit, knowing that I really, really wanted it. But oftentimes I can kind of psych myself up and I can get really nervous. I think that's what I did at Champions Cup last year, where I was just thinking about how much it would mean to me to get a win, and then I just crash and burn kind of thing. And so having that mindset of I didn't let myself get excited or think about what the win would do, how it would, change my career, how happy I would be. And I just every single hole I had to execute the shot. And so I didn't let myself think ahead. And I probably could have after hole 15, making that eagle putt, to not lose any ground. I probably could have started thinking ahead, but I was like, with 16 and 17 and 18 coming down the stretch, like nothing's safe. I mean, we saw Calvin take a triple the last round on hole 17. And I'm like, I can easily do that. If Calvin could do it, I could easily do that. So just really pacing myself mentally.
You obviously have a new bag this season and starting no problem. What was the transition like into throwing the Discraft discs, and why were you able to adjust so quickly to the point that you're able to get a win with your first tournament with the new bag? I guess on the Pro Tour. I guess you did play on the off season.
Yeah. I will say, taking that trip down in New Zealand really helped me figure out how to play in any kind of wind, because all the discs in my bag that I thought were great, and I mean majority of them stayed in my bag, but like in playing in Georgia, there's not wind hardly, or I wouldn't go out like when it's super windy and cold. But getting to travel down there and play in probably the worst wind I've played in, it's like, okay, well now I know exactly what my bag does, and I didn't pick up a wind down there, and so it was like, okay, it was all a learning experience. I took that and I should have won. I'm technically by rating, but I was like, okay, I can take losses down here to be prepared for the season.
Isaac has been the brother that has had a little bit more of the spotlight and the success, the big conversations this past offseason about where he was going to go. World championships do that for you. When you go back, let's say, I don't know if 10 years is too far, but like who was seen as the next big thing? Like who was the better player or projected to be the better player 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and bring us up to today?
Yeah. First of all, starting out, he hated it. He hated disc golf. So he was never wanting to go out and play. Me and my dad would always go out, and then we'd force him to go out. And he, being the older brother, he could always throw farther than me. So he was always, getting more looks at the basket. But like I became like a better distance putter, a better putter in general, because I wasn't getting him so close. And so once we started going out together, we got more competitive. We started playing, junior tournaments. We started playing rec tournaments, intermediate, and kind of moved up the ranks until I think in 2016, end of 2016 or beginning of 2017, that was when I went pro, started playing pro tournaments and cashing. I think he went about the same, maybe like a couple months earlier. But since then, like it's been a battle every single time. Like there's so many local Georgia C tiers or B tiers that we would just go battle it out. We had I think in 2017, we had a like 6-hole playoff for a B tier win. It was just awesome. So just those memories, that we created playing against each other. It's just awesome to be able to carry out on the pro tour.
It was very clear from the end of the tournament that you guys have a very close relationship. But tell me how that rivalry motivates you. At a tournament, are you watching where Isaac is with the idea of like, if you beat Isaac, that's a good weekend?
Yeah, I mean, if I beat Isaac, if I had lost Isaac this weekend, I would have got like 60th. So not good, but
you don't have to do him like that. My God,
I don't know if Isaac knew he was going to be catching strays like this.
No, but yeah, I have him start on the PDGA app with like the whole friend group, and normally if like you're beating Isaac or you're beating Gannon, you're doing pretty well. But yeah. So I keep track of what he's doing, and we'll bicker here and there, like throw some jabs and stuff. But I couldn't imagine anybody else that I would want there for my win, and same for him. I know he feels the same way. So,
There was a lot made of the fact that you scored, I think it was like 10 strokes better than AB last year through 3 rounds. Do you feel like the course was playing easier? I know the conditions were certainly better, but or I guess the alternative is that you just played that well, because if you look at the stats, like you did not bogey, you did not go OB, you didn't miss circle 1 putt. I feel like you had a lot of very easy putts too, because at least according to the official stats, now that I updated it, I take back what I said. You had 1 bogey. I don't know why I didn't update. But you did not go OB. And you lead the tournament in circle 1 regulation, circle 2 in regulation, fairway hits, et cetera, et cetera. So I was like, did you just play that well, or do you think the course was a little bit easier this time around?
Well, let's see. If we look at it last year, we had 13 in the par 4. 16 was a way easier tee shot, I would like to think. And just those 2 things, 13 being a pretty tough par 3, 16 being very daunting. I would say it's a little bit harder, but also like they trimmed up a good bit of stuff out there from last year. Hole 4, that whole right side used to be a lot thicker. And so they trimmed that up, and some other changes out there. And the tee pads, I feel, were a lot better. I feel like people were slipping all the time last year on like the old football stuff or whatever they had. So everything, like tee pads and the fairways, were cleaner. So that could have evened it back out. But it just felt easy. Even though you look at the scores and like people still struggled. So it's like, I don't know exactly where to draw the line, but I guess things were, when you're hitting the lines, it seems pretty easy, and luckily I was able to do that. So,
as somebody from down in the South, you probably enjoy this, but I'll ask anyway. Do you like starting in Florida more than starting in Vegas for the Pro Tour?
Yeah, so I've actually never played Vegas.
Oh,
never been there.
Did you? Were you not on the Pro Tour when it was on, or did you just choose not to go?
I think I was maybe on the Pro Tour the last year it was, or something. Yeah, this is only, I think, my 3rd full season, I think. Just start my 3rd full season.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's 6 hours from my house. Yeah. We go 6 hours from my house to Florida, and then USDGC is 4 hours from my house. So it's like absolutely perfect.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sure you've discussed this ad nauseum at this point, but Peach Pirate, where did it come from?
Yeah.
How did we come up with that? How are you feeling about the reception of it, and just like the whole rebrand that you've had this offseason?
Yeah. No. Okay. So the design came from the Georgia Peach.
Yep.
Georgia guy, Georgia boy. And then I love pirates. I love the ocean. I love they're very they're kind of rebellious, kind of out there, but also very loyal. The ocean is super pretty, but also super scary and can sneak up on you if you're not careful.
Right.
And just all of those aspects rolled into one thing of representing who I feel I am. And I like all of that stuff. And I got a lot of pirate themed tattoos and stuff. So, it kind of just, we were like, okay, we'll design something. And it's on the Discraft team, it's different than just, your initials, especially having, another Ezra on the team. It's like, we we can't do much, so we're like, okay, let's just take a kind of a risk, honestly. And yeah, I know Isaac calls me Peach Bud all the time, so it's like, okay. He got in his last YouTube video, he's like, yeah, everybody just go call him Peachy. And I'm like, I hate you. So everybody's been calling me that, messaging me. So it's wonderful. But yeah, it could be a serious brand, a not so serious brand, like whatever. It kind of embodies everything.
Yeah, I love that. That comes with your switch over to Discraft. It's interesting because you join, and you kind of allude to this with the lead cards, just an absolutely stacked team, right? You have multiple major winners, lots of Pro Tour wins from last season between the team. Are you concerned about your ability to brand and market yourself on a team with that much depth?
This thing, I think, just from the little that I've been on the team so far, they really, their marketing is fantastic. They really, if you do something memorable, then they will post about it. They'll do something for you. They really let each team member shine in their own way, which I think is really cool because like normally you have like one front guy that everybody else can't do anything right, and it's always just this one guy that you push and push and push and push. And I think Discraft does a really good job of bringing everybody up as a team, as a whole. Very encouraging for the whole team. I've been around, hanging around Bob a lot and Mike, and they're just they're talking to everybody. They're doing everything they can for anybody that needs anything. And so it's just really cool to be a part of almost like a family. It really is a family, but we're still competing against each other every weekend. But like I said, Aaron Gossage was a huge help to me down in New Zealand. Like he was just showing me what he does for the win, what is in his bag. AB has a stack of discs he's given me in Waco. Like everybody's been so nice to just come alongside me and help me figure out what I need to do. And like I said, I'm competing against them every week. Like we're rivals, but a family teams, and that's really cool. I don't think you see that very much.
Tell us a little bit about the final round. You shoot a course record, but just another accolade on this weekend. And it's kind of surprising because it seems like you could have let off the gas a little bit in the final couple holes with the lead that you had, but instead you basically just kept getting birdies. So you're behind to start. When did you feel like you took control of the round, and what did you tell yourself to stay focused on closing it out and not ending up faltering like you mentioned at Champions Cup or some other tournaments last season?
Yeah, I think the biggest swing we had was hole 4. He took a triple. I was able to birdie, so that's 4-stroke swing, and that put me 2 in the lead at that point. And I wasn't expecting that at all. That was just a gift. So after that point, I was like, okay, well, this is it's easy to like try to gain strokes when you're behind, but it's like, okay, how do I now I'm in the lead, and I was like, okay, if there's one thing I know about my game, I don't know how to win. I haven't won before. I don't know how. I was like, all you got to do, I think, is just keep playing your game. Like, do not even think about it. Just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, getting the momentum or whatever. Just don't let them get anything. And so I just never took my foot off the gas because that's all I knew how to do. I don't know how to hold a win. I don't know how to do all of that yet. I'm learning. But hopefully that doesn't bite me in the butt one day. It might. But just being smart with it and just pushing, because I knew if I stopped pushing or got comfortable, that's when I tend to shank or get lazy or whatever. And I wasn't letting that happen.
Do you think that, like, you talk about this idea of like, and I don't even know if letting the foot off the pedal is the right way to describe it, but when you're playing with, 7 strokes by hole 16 or 17, do you see it as or see a need to change that style to play more conservatively, or did you play and throw a little bit more conservatively compared to what you threw in rounds 1 and 2?
No, at that point, I just wanted to win by as much as I could. I don't, there's like a little spark that's like, okay, you can win, but I want to mop the floor kind of thing. Which it's just all adds to everything, where it's just like, just, I don't know. It was just like a weird feeling where it's like, okay, no, we're good. And like, I'm never going to even give them a break. And it honestly might even play for the long term, where it's like, they'll like, I'm not saying, well, you know, if somebody did that to me, right? Say Isaac did that to me, or no, Isaac's not a good example. Say it was swapped where I was in the lead and AB absolutely just stomped me into the ground. Next time I play against AB, I'm going to be thinking about that. I'm going to be remembering, and I'll be like, that did not feel good, and then that's already getting my nerves up and not getting me in my game. So it's like the more intimidation, even though like I don't feel like I'm intimidating at all, but it's like the more intimidation I can bring to the next tournament, I mean, the better, I would think.
What's the most memorable thing someone has said to you since you won this tournament?
Mm. Um, I mean, it's got to be just the encouragement and the congratulations from Paul and Ricky and Ken Climo actually too. He gave me a big hug at the end, and it's just like these are the people I grew up watching, and that's not a jab for how old they are, um, you know. But in my teen years, wanting to be on the tour, wanting to play and compete with them, like having them on the card and knowing their legacy. I mean, they're two of the best to ever do it. And it's like them congratulating me, who has, done nothing. And it was so just a dream come true to have your role models look at you in a different light and see you as a winner, as a champion. It was like a dream come true. And I think that's the coolest thing that could ever have happened to me.
I actually want to follow up and ask, like,
yeah, go ahead, John.
Going into that final round, you have AB, who's one of the stars of today, and you have Paul and Rick, who are, still stars, but like have defined the entire generation of the last 10 years. Who are you more afraid of in that final round?
I think I said this before on a different podcast, but I would be the biggest idiot if I ever thought I was safe from Paul McBeth or Ricky Wysocki. I've seen the history. I've seen what they can do, and it is terrifying. And so it took me probably about 10 holes to be like, okay, I think I'm okay from them, And so never counting them out. So they're super scary. And I know AB, he can, I mean, all his shots are so good. He has a massive forehand, fantastic backhand. He can scramble. He can make 100-footers, like no problem. So when he's on, he's extremely scary. And I would put him up in the category of Paul McBeth and Ricky Wysocki in skill level any day. And so but I also know he's newer than them. And he's still, me and him both, like we don't have that, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but like I know for me, my mental game is like pretty weak still, and still like under pressure. And like I don't know that aspect of my game yet, because it's only happened a handful of times, and I'm still learning through that. And it might be the same for him. So it's like if I had to go up against anybody, I would want to go up and somebody who's closer to that level as I am, and not Paul or Ricky, who have been doing this for years. So I would they're both scary in their own way, but I would have to choose AB over those two.
You threw a forehand in the final round that was pretty nice. Tell us a little bit, like, is that an element of your game that you're working on? Are you just accepting, like, this is what I can do with a forehand and that's all it'll ever be? Like, what was your off-season preparation like, both in terms of your game and then maybe also you could speak to, like, fitness as well?
Yeah. No, forehand is, I want to have a workable one, and that's it, because I feel like my backhand, and I know Isaac feels the same way, but he's like, our backhands are just, too dialed to where it's like, if I had a good forehand, that would cause more question in my head of what to throw. I know it's always a backhand. That's super easy, except when I'm pinched like I was on 14. I couldn't squeeze a backhand. I wasn't taking that right hyzer. I did look at it. But I went and talked to Isaac. I'm like, hey, I think it's a forehand. He's like, yeah, no, it's forehand. He would have thrown forehand from there too. And it's like, people aren't like people are still surprised when we throw forehands because we don't do it very often. But like I can toss one out there if I need to, but I don't like to need to. um, but yeah, and yeah, off season like I practice it a little bit, not much though. I'm just trying to get dialed with the backhand with the new bag. And you said about fitness.
I thought I heard you mention that somewhere else before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So on the road, I am in the gym, mainly just doing a lot of trying to do more cardio than actual like lifting, just because I don't want to be super sore for the weekends and stuff. I'll do some lifts on the like first 2 days of the week or something, but mainly just doing cardio and some just mobility and stuff like that. Nothing too intense, but just trying to eat better for sure. I'll go out and just buy like chicken and eggs and spinach and steaks every now and then. But yeah, just really controlling the diet. That's the main thing, and making sure I'm eating enough to have enough energy to go out and play the round, but also not feel stuffed and all of that.
Have you seen an impact from your training, in the gym, over time, let's say, not just like doing some cardio before the season, but like over the last however many years, even if it's just since you started on the pro tour, and like, how is that impacting your game? Have you noticed?
Well, I'm not rounding as much. No, no, I was definitely, I think, shoot, I forget. But I was definitely kind of let myself go for a little bit, and it was definitely pretty chunky out there. And I knew, I think that was like the first year I was on tour, and I was like, oh my goodness, if I'm going to do this, I need to get in better shape because I can't do D-glow again. You know, that's a lot of hills. And so that off season, I really found a gym, and then we just really hunkered down and did that. And then I think I lost like 40 pounds going into the next, year, which was a huge game changer. It actually threw everything off. So I had to relearn a lot. But feeling really good now, just kind of maintaining that. Um, but yeah, just being able to just go know I can do something without, being hindered or anything. It's just breathing easier, just enjoying life a lot more. And disc golf, I can play as long as I want, without being tired or anything like that. And that's huge. I can go out and play around and then go practice. It's awesome.
Speaking of off season, you make the switch to Discraft. Was there an offer from Prodigy for you to stay? Was it anywhere close to what Discraft was? Before you started looking for a new contract, were you thinking there was any chance you would stay at Prodigy? Tell us a little bit about what that looked like.
So first off, I know there's a lot of controversy when it comes to Prodigy and like everything. Prodigy was absolutely fantastic for me. They were just so easy to work with on my side. Nothing ever went wrong. And so I wish them nothing but the best going forward. No qualms whatsoever. And I think Will is fantastic, and I hope he does really well. Step into that CEO role. But yeah, no, I was with them for 9 years. And so I needed something else. I needed something different. And I knew with this opportunity that I should probably take it. They did give me an offer, but it just wasn't. I don't think it was as good. And just even if it was, I think I would choose something else just because I needed a change of pace. Learn new discs, it re-excited my love for the game and all of that. And like I said, I haven't thrown anything but Prodigy in 9 years, and so I have no idea what like I like. There's names of discs that I don't even know. And so it's been really fun to be able to learn new stuff, and it's gotten me more involved with the game, more involved with other people, and all of that. So it's really brought back my love for the game, switching to a different company.
Did Latitude offer you make an offer as well to keep you and Isaac together?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah.
What slots in your bag have improved or even been filled that weren't filled before? And what do you feel like is missing from what you had at Prodigy?
Yeah, I think having more consistent overstable drivers has, I mean, it makes everything so much easier because I can pretty much do whatever I need to with an overstable driver. In the wind, in no wind, whatever. It's very versatile.
Are,
And
are you
the
throwing a
buzz,
force
yeah,
or a nuke, or what are you throwing?
yeah. I got two forces and two
Oh,
nukes.
okay.
That purple one, purple blue one is a nuke, and then the two purple ones are forces.
Got it.
Um, yeah, yeah. But just having those has been a game changer. And then, I mean, the buzz is just fantastic. And the Buzz SS. That was one thing that actually got filled for me like this last week with my new tour series, Buzz SS. Go buy one. Um, but it's an M4 replacement. And I didn't have that before. You know, either a Buzz SS that I did have it burned over, but this run is amazing. I actually threw it out there in the tournament twice, I think. But yeah, so that I'm still missing a my green F1 from last season. It was just so awesome to be able to like hyzer flip it up or flip it over, and it's very very controllable. I'm getting there with like an Undertaker or an Athena or even an Onyx. It goes a little faster, but and then I think the biggest hole right now is the Papa John's putter that I had that I threw in a couple times over the last couple seasons, and I don't know, I just can't find anything like it. So like my 100 footers and stuff has been like you know not as dialed as as they could be, um, but then again it's okay. But yeah, I think the F1 and the Papa John's disc is my biggest holes right now.
Uh, when you made the swap, do you feel like, and maybe even before New Zealand, but like when you were making the decision on contracts, for example, were you looking at Discraft's plastic and being like, yep, okay, this is something I'm good to throw with? Is there a company that maybe you would have said, no, I'm not as interested in that plastic?
Yeah, it was I had two offers, and it was MVP or Discraft. And I don't know much about MVP. I know all the people there are super nice, but I could not see myself throwing their plastic. I know a lot of people love it. A lot of people love it, and I mean, they fly great. But just the a lot of them are really flat. I like dome. I like soft and dome. And they didn't really have everything that I was looking for. And just Discraft is like the team. Like I grew up like I don't know if I've said this on a podcast yet, but Isaac and I, when I was 11, he's a little older, but we reached out to Discraft to see if they would sponsor like a junior team or something, and they were like, "No, we're not really looking for anybody right now, but here's like a box of free discs, so go figure it out, go play with them." So they sent us a lot of free discs, and from then I was like, "Oh, I want to be on this team." Like it's like a dream to be on Discraft, and so I kind of didn't really expect it, but in the off season or they reached out, I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, this is what I wanted from, you know, 11 years ago. And so it was just super cool to be able to be a part of like literally my dream team. And like I wasn't going to take really any other offer, I don't think. Unless it was like a huge money difference, but
Did you give them grief for not sponsoring you as a junior?
that was one of the first things I told him. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so you got Waco coming up. As you said, you played very well there last season on the Beast, and we've got 3 at the Beast because it's not a DGPT plus this coming season. So let's see. You shot 1064 and 1051 rated rounds last year. So obviously, that combined with this weekend, your confidence must be through the roof. What will it take to win at the Beast?
Yeah, a lot of this, yeah, just I think it's one of the shortest, if not the shortest course we play on tour.
Yeah.
I know one of the ones up in Vermont might take it, but yeah. So I love short woods technical more than a lot of people. That's the kind of golf that I grew up playing. And so I love hitting gaps with putters or mids. So I think in order to win, I mean, you just gotta, for me, I have to hunker down even harder than everybody else because I've already completed my goal for the year. And so I can't get happy with that. I can't be, oh, nothing else matters anymore because I've already completed my goal. I just have to make new goals. And so I have to like focus in even more. And so I don't know. I would love to have a shot to win Waco, but also I could be in, like 40th place. Like there's no telling that how people play and stuff like that.
Like Isaac.
Exactly. Like I could follow in his footsteps, find myself missing cash almost. So,
yeah. For reference, Beast is 7,800 feet. Brewster Ridge in Vermont is 8,300. So
okay.
A solid, 600 feet longer. But yes, it's a very short course, but it feels like it still plays challenging. Like, why do you think that is? Because it's not like it's a pure woods course, not at all.
No. I think it gets very windy out there. It can, coming off that river right there. And also I think, it still can be pretty chilly too. We've seen years in the past where it's like people are bundled up. And so like, you never know with the wind and the weather and all of that. And the chill factor that could, mess with a lot of people. And then honestly, you got the new 16, 17 and 18. They're all so hard to finish on. I mean, you've seen people, blow leads on 17, on 18. And so it's another course with really tough finishing holes, just like in Florida. So some people can be having a great round and then take an 8 on 17. I think I've taken an 8 on 17 before. So it's like, then it's not so good. So.
Really quick for reference,
go try.
Just looked at the forecast as you mentioned that. It's going to be windy, but it's going to be warm. Highs in the mid 70s to mid 80s. But Saturday or Friday, it's going to be 23 mile per hour winds, 20 to 30. So that's going to be a challenging opening round, I would think, if that holds up.
Interesting.
Just a tee shot on one. I always feel like it's really nasty because it's often headwind.
Yeah. One is crazy.
I've seen somebody, take an 8. So it would have been better if they missed their tee time and just walked hole 2. Because it would be par plus 4, and that would have been a 7.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Ezra, this guy seems like a random question. I'll pivot to one that maybe is a little more relevant. Are you in a car dealership right now?
I am.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay.
My Subaru's in the shop, just making sure. I think I need new brakes or oil change, just making sure it's road ready for the season.
Got it. And that takes me to my question. How are you traveling on tour this season?
So it's just me and my Subaru. And I'm doing Airbnbs with Alden, Gavin, Gannon, and Sullivan Tipton, I believe.
Nice.
So just one big happy family.
What Subaru you got?
I got a 2022 Outback.
Oh, that's a great car.
Yeah, it runs. It goes.
I had an 01 Forester for a couple years. It was very old, and I killed it dead. But great car. Ezra, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on, and congratulations once again. Did you get a bonus from Discraft for winning a Pro Tour event?
I do. Yes, sir.
Can you tell us how much?
I think so. They didn't tell me I couldn't. It's like $3,000, I think.
Okay, and like a Worlds is like 25 or something.
I haven't even looked at that yet. Yeah, we'll get there when we get there.
Too early for that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, congrats, and I'm sure when the merch starts rolling out with the Peach Pirate stuff, people are going to be clamoring. I saw Discraft in the Instagram comments say should they make pirate hats.
Yeah,
I don't know if those would sell, but they might sell.
Yeah, we got some things in the works. I think we're going to be dropping soon. So
cool. All right, Ezra Robinson with us here on the Upshot. Appreciate it, and good luck at Waco.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate that.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Upshot. Well, thanks again to Ezra for coming on. What a great thing, right? You take your car into the shop, and then you're like, I'm going to just use this like office space to do this interview right now. I felt like we were like in a boardroom with him.
Right. No, I saw the car posters because I worked in college. I worked in a car dealership.
Okay.
We're just covering Josh's past employment today. I worked at a car dealership. I saw the posters and I saw those glass cubicles. I was like, oh, I could spot that anywhere. I know where he's at.
All right, let's get the super quick 10-second rundown of your work history. Go.
A warranty administrator for a car dealership, director of operations for outpatient physical therapy company, and I'm now the director of business development for a hospice agency.
Okay, here's mine. Ready?
Yep.
Age 14, miniature golf course manager, and operator.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I worked for, my dad was working at the time for like a company that installed breathalyzers in cars when people got DWIs.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was working for that, like, I don't know, I was like an intern or something.
Sure.
Then I worked at Borders, RIP. I was like I'd get there at 5 a.m. and stock the shelves and like do, receiving from the trucks and stuff. I remember we got the final Harry Potter books while I was working there, like the 7th book, and they like came in on these pallets, and it was like they were wrapped with all this stuff. It was like, if you open this ahead of this time and day, we will send the people in to shoot and kill you. It was a very serious thing, but we had like a huge, Harry Potter extravaganza for the 7th book release and everything. But why I took a job that started at 5 a.m. as a night person, that was insane. I worked at a sign printing company where the metal signs, like the real estate signs in the yard.
Yeah.
I worked at the company that makes signs.
Okay. How old are we at this point?
That was after my freshman year of college.
Okay.
Back home in Albuquerque for the summer.
Okay.
Another terrible job, but I think it's important for everyone to work a minimum wage job in their life.
Oh yeah.
Then I started working I worked at the Albuquerque Journal as a blogger / intern. I worked at the website think tank in Washington D.C. one summer, and then besides some work study jobs in college, it's been UltiWorld.
Wow, you did UltiWorld right after college.
Pretty much. I took a fellowship 1 year out of school at NYU's Abu Dhabi campus, and then started UltiWorld. And I was also and I still do tutor SAT and ACT students.
Oh, okay.
For a while, that's how I paid my rent.
Sure.
Yeah.
You telling me UltiWorld didn't just pay the rent day one?
You wish it could have just been instant bonanza, but it turns out Frisbee website, not the greatest money making enterprise.
Took some time to get the ball rolling, huh?
All right.
Cool.
So let's talk to somebody else with an interesting job. But before I introduce Cole, any other thoughts on Ezra and what he had to say?
Man,
I wanted more from the Peach Pirate answer.
I did too.
He gave us the same spiel that he did in the Discraft video.
Yeah, he did.
Why did you come up with Peach Pirate? Did they say, what are things that are important to you? Peaches and pirates? I mean...
Did you walk into Discraft day one eating a Georgia peach?
Right.
What?
I mean, again, I kind of like it. I just wish that I had gotten a little more.
Sure. Yeah. He's a nice guy. I really do like Ezra a lot, and I think Discraft's definitely got a winner on their hands. That's for sure.
What's the odds that Isaac and Ezra combine for the most wins compared to anyone else on tour?
Any single person?
Any single, yeah.
Ooh.
2025.
I don't know. Plus 2,000?
Plus 2,000? I will put money on that right now. I'll put money on that right now. You want to take the action?
I don't know. Because the thing is, I just went through. I would take Gannon. I would take AB. I would take Rick
to outwin them individually with Isaac and Ezra combined.
Yeah.
Listen, if you want to give me plus 2,000, I'll take it.
Isaac's best season is 2 wins.
Yeah.
All right. Tell you what. I won't even get, we'll make it easy here. Well, but then that doesn't even out. I was going to say, if they do, if they win it, whichever side wins, we buy a Peach Pirate disc for the other person for the wall.
Well, that's.
But that gives. I'd rather
have $100 at plus 2,000 if I'm being honest. But if you want to keep it low stakes,
I'm not giving you $100 at plus 2,000.
Whoever loses has to get a Peach Pirate tattoo.
Charlie, do you remember the time you made a bet about your phone screen having the ugly Broncos thing? Come on.
All right, the disc. It's the disc.
It's the disc.
All right,
the disc.
Fair enough. I think you have to get an Isaac disc too. It's a 2-pack.
Okay, I get you an Isaac Ezra disc.
And I only get you an Ezra disc, or I get you the disc of your choice from whoever won.
Whoever won, you get me one of their Tour Series discs.
Fair,
okay,
fair.
All right.
Now they all have something to play for because
that's right.
They get $4 out of this deal. Okay. All right. We're now going to talk to the head strength and conditioning coach from the Trinity Western University in Canada. And he has started training the disc golf team there. And we got an email from Cole back in November. We actually interviewed him maybe a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. It's been a little while. Mm-hmm. We kept like pushing the release of it back, but now is the time. Especially talking to Ezra about his training. And I by the way, I couldn't believe he lost 40 pounds.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And it's funny because when we were talking to him about that, I remember very distinctly, and I might have even said it on the show when Ezra first started touring. I was like, dang, Isaac's brother built like a linebacker. Like that man is just a wall. And I always thought like he was just like big into lifting. And so I was pretty surprised, same with you, but this season it's clear. Like, I mean,
I wasn't even trying to, now. I feel like he kind of was like taking it as a dig when I asked him about his training.
No.
And he was like, made the rounding joke. And I was like, oh, I hope it didn't offend him. But I really didn't mean it that way because I didn't realize that he didn't look like somebody who was like obviously overweight. He just looked like a stocky guy. But I mean, 40 pounds is no joke.
Absolutely. I mean, he's obviously in great shape now. And so good for him. Yeah. And I also was shocked. And I think, what perfect timing then to run the Cole interview. Yeah,
so Cole Hergott joins us next to talk about training for disc golf and what he's learned so far as a head strength and conditioning coach on training the disc golf athletes and what they need for success. Stay with us. It's the Upshot. Joining us now on the Upshot is Cole Hergott. He is the head strength and conditioning coach at Trinity Western University. Good morning, Cole. Thanks for getting up early with us.
Hey, my pleasure. I'm happy to be on.
So, a lot of people are going to be like, head strength and conditioning coach at Trinity Western University. Why is this guy on a disc golf podcast? Tell us a little bit about what's going on with disc golf at Trinity Western.
Absolutely. So I'm the head strength and conditioning coach. So I cover all of our sports here. And I'm in my 6th year. So about 3 years ago, our athletic director walked up to me and said, hey, how would you think about having a new breed of athlete in our weight room? And I thought maybe like one of our athletes was having a kid, like, it was going to be like the next generation. I was like, okay, that'd be cool. He's like, sweet, we're going to get a disc golf team. And I was like, cool. I vaguely knew what disc golf was at the time. So I was like, okay, whatever. So that whole summer, I just spent like looking up disc golf, chatting with people who were working in disc golf, which wasn't very many. Basically ended up talking to a bunch of coaches that like worked with Ultimate Frisbee and that kind of thing. But we started a disc golf program. I think this is, might be the 4th year. And it's the only varsity disc golf program in Canada, meaning like I'm the only university strength and conditioning coach in Canada that actually works with their disc golf team. We compete in the collegiate disc golf championships that happens in the States every year. But otherwise we compete in they compete in local meets all the time. We have our national qualifier here, up in our our course here called Raptors Knoll. So it's one of the better courses up in Canada, and we have teams from all across Canada kind of come and compete in that. But same thing, they're all club teams, and our team rolls up in their matching bags and jackets, and having done S&C stuff, thinking we're top dogs and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a pretty niche thing. Like exactly, whenever I talk to my colleagues, they're like, "What, you guys have disc golf?" But we do, and we're pretty good at it.
So you're gonna have to forgive my ignorance of the way Canadian collegiate sports works, but you're describing these varsity teams that very similar to what it sounds like over in the U.S., completely covered in terms of costs for travel and such by the university.
So the way it works in Canada, so our sports, not disc golf, but everyone else competes in what's called U Sports. So U Sports is basically the equivalent, like our NCAA essentially.
Okay.
And so those sports are all like basketball, volleyball, hockey. They're all like fully covered, travel, all that stuff. Our disc golf program isn't U Sports, so I'm not 100% certain on like the financials of it, but I know that they're not 100% covered unless they do, like when they go to nationals, like I'm 90% certain that gets covered and kind of stuff, but they can't just compete every weekend and have their costs covered by the school because they're on the disc golf team. But I think for major events they do. And I think we can subsidize, like we have like scholarship money for them. So I'm not, again, certain which is which, but I know that some of our athletes are on scholarship. So it's almost like a tier 2, maybe, like varsity program. But whereas like when I talk to some of my colleagues where they have disc golf teams, but they're not varsity, it's just like a club sport and they have to pay their own way, and they just, they want to do it because they want to represent that university. Whereas us, it's like we recruited you to come here and you're getting scholarship money and you're competing for us.
All right. So let's get into your domain then. There are not a lot of people who are thinking about training disc golfers. There's a couple. I know a couple of them personally, but there's not, I don't think, there's not any literature on how to train disc golfers. There's not any sort of established protocols on how to train disc golfers. Obviously, we have the principles of strength and conditioning and training, and I'm sure that you had to take some time and kind of watch the sport and see like what are the physical demands. How have you thought about like what it takes to properly train players to, avoid injury, improve their ability to have the endurance that they need on the course, throw further, etc.?
Yeah. So I basically trial and error a lot of it. Like I like you mentioned, like not too many people are working with disc golf athletes. So when we signed our first disc golf athletes, like every time they came in the weight room, I was just peppering them with questions. Cause at the time I had never played either. Like I've thrown a Frisbee, I've thrown a baseball, but like, it's not quite the same thing. And so I would just ask them like Anheuser versus Heiser, like, what about this? Like, all these things, like what does the disc rating mean? And all these things. And I'm still learning, like I still pepper them with questions all the time. And they've been very, very gracious to show me. But the main thing I've kind of done is just broken it down into the basic parts. So like what is a throw? Like, what is that component? There's rotation, there's leg drive, you've got your block foot, like all these things that, we're trying to look at getting stronger. And the thing I've greatly benefited from is, as you kind of alluded to, like a lot of people aren't thinking of training disc golfers because a lot of disc golfers aren't training. And so when we sign these 18-year-old disc golf athletes, like they're not walking in with a 315 bench being like, oh yeah, I'm ready for some high level stuff. Like most of our kids have never been in a weight room before. And so like all our other sports always bug me. Like, what do you even do with disc golf? And I show like, they do push-ups, they do goblet squats, they do, we do pull-ups, we do, we end up working up to dumbbell bench press and barbell bench press. Like I basically progress them the way I would any kind of basic level athlete. But then we do obviously add in some extra arm care work because like any disc golfer, like we've got elbow pain and shoulder pain and those kind of things. And so we just look at ways to mitigate that. And a lot of those things I've stolen things from baseball because obviously that's huge for shoulder care and arm care. I've stolen things from hockey because, it's a similar kind of rotation pattern. And I've just looked at, breaking down the sport into, the multiple things of the sport. Like from a fitness standpoint, I just do a lot of things that golfers do because it's the same thing. You do one action and then you kind of walk for a bit and then you do one action. So I basically learned about all these other sports, smashed it together into what I think disc golfers should do. Throw in some extra, arm care and fun things for them, and then let them get after it. But again, it's pretty straightforward because the kids we have just started. So it's nothing crazy.
You mentioned a couple of the kind of accomplishments of your team, but so I'll give you an opportunity here in the form of this question. What has been the result of taking these athletes and you obviously now have a better idea of disc golf when they show up, and what a great talent looked like probably wasn't terribly obvious right off the bat, but now I'm sure you see kind of the growth from before and after. So what has that program done for your disc golfers and the biggest changes that you've seen?
So the biggest things we've seen is number one is a reduction in injuries. So a lot of our kids, when they come in, especially because they haven't had a strength training background, they come in with like elbow and shoulder pain. And so we have to modify some of the programs to start out with. But currently, obviously we just came off of winter break, so they didn't throw a ton, but we're not dealing with any elbow or shoulder pain. Like everybody's healthy and ready to go, which is awesome because this is now our competitive season. So actually our girls team, we're sending 4 girls down to Florida, and they leave in 2 days. So in 2 days they head down to Florida for their first event, and everybody's healthy and happy and kind of ready to go. So that would kind of be the biggest thing. The other thing too is just, for me, it's almost like it's elevated their mental game. It's elevated their overall performance because they know they've trained hard. They know they're ready to go. We've worked on warm up stuff. We've worked on like some prehab work before their rounds. And so when they show up, they don't just, show up, grab it and just rip it down. It's like, okay, we're prepping. We're serious about this. Whereas, some other teams or other athletes might not be. And then I've heard all the time, especially with the kids that just start out with it, it's like, oh, I'm throwing further than I ever have. And it's like, great. Like that's what I want to hear. That's my goal. And obviously the goal is to like improve our rankings in the collegiate setting, which we have this year. Nationals isn't until beginning of April. So we'll kind of see what happens when they actually have to go there. But, as a program, we've risen, but to me, the 2 biggest things is injury reduction and then just physical readiness. And they're pros about it. Like they just get after it.
What do you think, as you're one of the people who's basically on the forefront of training for disc golfers, do you feel like if you had to choose, right, would you rather do like squats and other sort of lower body focused or total body strength development, or because the reason I ask is I think a lot of disc golfers, if they just went on their own to train, they're going to do like cable pulls with their arm, right? Like overly specific, thinking that if they can train the motion with heavy, then they're going to be able to throw further. As you know, that's not really the thing. But would you train arm stuff and upper body more or lower body more? Like, where do you feel like you've seen the power coming from? And I don't know if you're having them throw and doing any actual like tracking of speed or form or anything like that in your capacity.
So I'm not really. So we have a tech disc that like measures like velocity and rotation and stuff. We don't use it. I don't use it. Like they'll use it at training sometimes and they'll show me the data, which is obviously really cool to see. But I would say, to answer your question, I would probably go with more lower body stuff, just because lower body drives the engine. And at the end of the day, you can have a great whip, you can have good rotation, but if you don't actually have that leg drive, you're not going to be able to throw it as far. The other benefit too is that when you train your legs, you are also getting, some more upper body stimulus. Like if you're doing a back squat and you've got that bar on your back, like you are training, your core a little bit, you're training your upper body just to hold that in place. And so I think you'd get more bang for your buck, just like a general population. Like I would just train more lower body because it's going to help you a lot more. The other thing I try to do with our disc golf athletes, especially now as we go into season, is drop down the upper body stuff, a little bit, just because they are throwing so much. And I like to think of it in buckets. And I got this idea from Coach Michael Boyle. But if you've got somebody who is, let's say, a distance runner and they're running a ton, when they come to the weight room, I'm not going to get them to run. They're already running. What are they not getting? They're not getting a heavy stimulus, on their legs and on their upper body. So I would do more of that work. Whereas with a disc golf athlete, all they're doing is throwing. So they're getting a ton of rotation work. They're getting a ton of whip and wear and tear on their arms. So when they come in, we do a little more volume on their legs, A, because I think it's more beneficial, but B, because they can tolerate it. And then the stuff we do on their upper body is a little bit less in volume and a little higher in intensity, so that we are obviously strengthening those areas, developing more power, but also it's just we're not overfilling that bucket, because I know they just threw, how many times on the weekend or just that day in practice. And I know they're going to go throw, later that day too. And so I'm just trying to mitigate overall stresses and make sure that we're taking care of the health of the athlete. Because at the end of the day, if our disc golf team wins nationals this year, nobody's going to go, that was because of Cole, strength and conditioning, good for you. Like, it doesn't, it's one of those sports where, like, it's not like football or rugby where it matters that much. So my main job is just to keep them healthy. They're good disc golf athletes because they're good at disc golf, not because they can squat, X amount of weight. So while my job, yes, is to enhance performance, the main role is just make sure that they're staying healthy. And so that's why for me, as I talked about before, like reducing the injuries, no shoulder and elbow pain is probably the biggest feather in my cap right now, because that's actually what matters.
Baseball pitching has developed kind of a pitch count and real science behind usage and overutilization. Do you create kind of guidelines like that for your disc golfers as well, whether it be with a forehand or just any throw in general?
Not yet. I've been in talks with our coach, Chris Hartman. We've been chatting about that probably for the last 18 months. And he's mentioned that to me a couple times about pitch counts and like developing some kind of a throw count. He's the expert kind of in his domain. And so I will continue to talk with him about that. But if he tells me a number like, hey, they should only be throwing, 100 times, 50 times, I'd be like, yeah, I trust his recommendations. And obviously it can be something that we, trial and error. Hey, that didn't work. That wasn't enough. That was too much. But I am familiar with it. But for me, that's a little outside of my wheelhouse right now. And that would just be something I would trust to smarter people than me.
Are you thinking that you want to do any other work in disc golf outside of your capacity as a head coach at TWU?
I've thought about it. And I've actually joked with my wife that I said, like, if I ever wanted to make money, I would just quit here and just do like pure disc golf, because like so many people play disc golf and like you said, nobody's training them. And so that's such a huge market. I love it in the university setting too much to do that. But part of me, even like being on this podcast, like I just want to educate people. Like I see so many people out there throwing, and it's just like people complaining about elbow pain and shoulder pain and back and all this stuff. But then when you ask them, it's like, well, they're not really doing anything for it. Or like you said, they're kind of doing like really specific things or just things that their physio gave them. And so for me, I would love to help the disc golf community more. And I think part of it, like even right now, is just like educating them, just like, hey, like you should be training. Like you are an athlete. You wouldn't look at LeBron James and say, well, he probably doesn't train. He trains to, perform at his best. And while you might not be LeBron James and basketball might be very different than disc golf, you're still an athlete and you're still trying to be healthy and you're still trying to play your sport. He's now 40 and a lot of disc golf athletes are older. And so your body, as you get older, starts breaking down faster. And so you actually need to do more to mitigate that than with, the 17, 18, 19-year-olds that I work with. So I think it's huge from just a general health standpoint, but from, like if you're serious about disc golf and you want to get better, I would highly recommend training, whether it's, reach out to me or somebody that's, local to you, but I think it's a good idea.
What would you tell our listeners who are, pretty much probably everybody who listens to this podcast plays disc golf at least casually. If people like are thinking about like, I'm starting to get like a little banged up, I'm getting a little older, I want to start training, like what would be a good path for them to take, would you say?
So I would say if they have any kind of knowledge with like training or they've done training before, like just get started. Like even body weight stuff, doing some push-ups, doing some squats, like in your basement, like all that stuff is going to add up for sure. I would say the best thing to do if you're like I don't know where to start is just to reach out to, whether it's somebody on social media, whether it's myself, like more than happy to kind of help guide people, or just start with like a basic training program, like Google beginner training program, things like that. Like, it doesn't have to be, like I said, anything fancy. If you're doing nothing, then something is better than nothing. And listen to your body. Like, if you're, especially as you get older, if you're training and like lifting or doing bodyweight exercises and that's causing you pain, that's not a good thing. This isn't a, no pain, no gain kind of situation. This is we're doing this so that you're actually not in pain. So again, whether you reach out to, a local personal trainer, a physio, just get started with something, because that's going to get the ball rolling and you're going to start to see the results and you're going to get addicted and your game is going to improve, and then sky's the limit from there.
What would you say, kind of in that same domain of what do you think needs to shift for the profession? Okay, let me back it up. I want to start with a preface. How much do you know about professional disc golf now?
Not a lot, but I know a decent amount. Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of these guys, they're living in vans, they're living in RVs, they're on the road for 9 months out of the year. They finish a tournament on Sunday, they pack up on Monday, they're driving Monday, Tuesday, they have a day, maybe 2 to practice, and then they're starting another tournament, right? And there's more breaks now, so it's better. But for an athlete like that, it's very different because they don't have like a home base to come back to, right? They don't have a home training gym. They can't just go back to their coach who is, strength and conditioning coach who stayed wherever that is. They're not just flying out and flying back. What do you imagine the world of physical conditioning being like for an athlete who, like in professional disc golf, their entire life is kind of consumed around the entirety of that profession and not just the, on the weekends, and then they can focus on training and getting better?
Absolutely. So I would say a great system to go to, like, everything's online now anyway. So you don't have to go to a coach. You don't have to have a coach come with you, but if you have a phone with you, like, a coach is, in your back pocket all the time. So if I was a professional disc golf athlete, I would hire a coach like myself or somebody else, to work on a program that I can do on the road. And there's a bunch of great tools, and whether it's resistance bands or you buy a couple of dumbbells, like once again, they don't have to be bench pressing 300 pounds to get better at disc golf, but we're trying to mitigate the stresses that they are putting their bodies through on those weekends, and sitting in vans and the sleeping conditions and all that stuff. So just aside from educating them on probably nutrition and sleep would go a long way, but giving them programs, hey, when you get to your next stop, go to sleep, take a shower, and then hey, here's a quick little circuit to do in the morning to get your body going. For example, like, our girls are going to Florida, as I mentioned, on Thursday, and so they lifted yesterday, and when they travel on Thursday, when they get there, they're going to do just like a mobility circuit. So it's nothing crazy. It's just, once again, like when you're sitting in an airplane or you're, sitting in a van driving around, like, mobility work goes a long way. And so, yes, there's maybe some push-ups and some squats in there just to, for lack of a better word, activate their muscles so that they're feeling good. But I think hiring a coach that can give you a super simple program that can be done on the road in 20 to 30 minutes. And if you do that twice a week, like, you're cooking. Like, I think that's something that is easily doable. It just hasn't really been done yet.
Awesome. Well, it's how has your philosophy at all about training disc golfers changed since you first learned about the sport to where you are now, a few years later? Well,
at first, when I didn't know much about it, it was, I kind of went down the rabbit hole of like specificity, like, okay, like, we're going to have to do, the specific work. But then again, since meeting the disc golf athletes, I've realized, well, A, they're human beings and athletes just like anybody else, but because they do have that lack of experience in weight training, I think a lot of it has almost, like, I've kind of dialed back what I've done with them. And not that, obviously as they get better and as they get stronger, like, they can get more specific, but I think my philosophy is just to keep it simple. Like, everybody wants to get super specific. Everybody wants to try that new gimmicky thing. But to me, I leave that up to our coach, Chris. Like, you try the new thing, you work on their technique and whatnot. And I'll just, keep them strong, healthy, and happy. And then they can do the specific stuff in their sport. Because I've had conversations with our coach, him obviously having concerns when I do try something new and they show up to practice sore. And then it's like, well, it becomes harder to work on a technique when your hamstrings are tight or your back is kind of bugging you. So for me, I've learned to dial it back a little bit and just focus on, good solid technique, basic exercises, squat, push, pull, hinge, and then let the sport take care of that specificity bucket, as opposed to me trying to get specific, especially when I don't know that much about disc golf. So my specificity is kind of skewed, and then it's like, well, then it's not really doing anything. So for me, I'm better off just staying in my lane, being general, continuing to ask questions and learn, and then let them just kick butt in the sport.
Awesome, Cole. Well, thanks so much. Good luck to your team this season. They didn't go to nationals last year, did they?
They did, yeah. They did.
Okay.
And I
was trying to check that out.
Yeah, I forget where we ranked, but I think it was better than the year before. That's all I remember. So
that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate you reaching out, and glad to have you on, and good luck with everything.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Cole Hergott with us here on The Upshot. We'll be right back. Thank you for tuning in to The Upshot. Make sure to sign up for your Ulti-World Disc Golf subscription. You can join in the picks contest, get in the Discord, get all of our subscriber bonus segments out the back, and a whole lot more exclusive articles and beyond. And Josh, I look forward to talking to you next week. We're getting ready for Waco.
Yep, getting ready for Waco. Going to be 3 rounds of the Beast. Should be a good time. Brian
Earhart will join us next week. Looking forward to talking with him about the start to the season. And hey, by the way, this is not an advertisement, but I just saw he just dropped a new Flight Diary episode out of nowhere.
Oh,
Holland Handley, long
nice.
Form. Yeah,
Flight Diaries are an excellent podcast.
Yeah, so check out the pod that Brian has been on hiatus with for quite some time. Maybe this means we're back. But great stuff from Brian Earhart. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we will talk to you next week right here on The Upshot.